It's 3:11 in the morning. You didn't set an alarm. Nothing woke you, no sound, no dream you can remember. You're just awake, staring at the ceiling. Your body is tired, but your brain is switched on, running through tomorrow's to-do list. That thing you said in a meeting 3 years ago, whether you left the stove on. You check the clock. You do the math on how much sleep you have left. You close your eyes. 40 minutes later, you're still doing math. If this happens to you more nights than not, you've probably been told the same thing everyone gets told. That's just stress. Or that's just getting older. Or try melatonin. Here's what's usually missing from that advice. Waking up in the middle of the night isn't random, and it isn't really about willpower or sleep hygiene alone. There's a specific, well-documented mechanism behind it, and once you see it, the fix becomes a lot more obvious. I'm not here to sell you a supplement or tell you your doctor is hiding something from you. I'm a health professional. I read the research on sleep architecture, cortisol rhythms, and circadian biology so you don't have to dig through journal articles to understand your own nights. Tonight, I want to walk you through why the 3 a.m. wake-up happens, what's actually going on in your body when it does, and a practical, evidence-based routine you can start tonight. No prescription needed for most people. Stick around because the middle section, the food and light triggers, surprises almost everyone. Sleep isn't one continuous state. It's built from 90-minute cycles, and by the middle of the night, you're spending less time in deep sleep and more time in lighter stages. That's normal. It's built into human sleep architecture. Light sleep is more fragile. Small things can nudge you into a brief waking, and normally you wouldn't even remember it. The problem isn't that brief waking itself, it's what happens after it, whether your brain lets you drift back down or whether it decides this is a good time to turn the lights on upstairs. That decision is largely driven by cortisol. Cortisol isn't just the stress hormone, it's also your body's built-in alarm clock. It naturally starts rising in the second half of the night to help you wake up in the morning. In a well-regulated system, that rise is gradual and you sleep through most of it. But if your cortisol rhythm is disrupted by late caffeine, alcohol, irregular sleep timing, or chronic stress, that rise can spike too early and too sharply. Instead of a gentle ramp toward a 6:30 wake-up, you get a jolt at 3 a.m. Your brain interprets that spike as time to be alert, even though your body still needs hours of sleep. That's the mechanism. Not a broken bladder, not just age, a hormonal timing system that's gotten out of sync. Picture someone, we'll call him Daniel, a composite of a pattern many people report, not a real patient. A 35-year-old who started waking at 3 a.m. almost every night after a stressful week at work. He assumed it was just stress and tried to push through it. He also assumed a glass of wine would help him relax before bed. That glass of wine was working against him. Alcohol helps you fall asleep faster, but as your body metabolizes it over the next few hours, it produces a rebound effect, a lighter, more fragmented second half of sleep, right when that cortisol rise is already happening. Combine early alcohol-driven fragmentation with an already stressed cortisol rhythm, and 3 a.m. becomes almost scheduled. The fix wasn't a pill. It was rebuilding a consistent wake time and cutting alcohol within 4 hours of bed, two things that let his cortisol rhythm re-anchor over a couple of weeks. Here are 3 hidden triggers that affects your sleep. 1. Caffeine's long tail. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 6 hours. Your 2 p.m. coffee still has a meaningful amount of caffeine in your system at 8 p.m. It won't necessarily stop you from falling asleep, but it can shallow out your later sleep cycles, making that 3 a.m. nudge more likely to become a full wake-up. 2. Screens and light timing. Bright light, especially blue heavy light from phones and TVs, in the hour before bed suppresses melatonin and can shift your circadian rhythm later. That mismatch between your internal clock and your actual bedtime is a common contributor to fragmented sleep in the second half of the night. 3. Irregular wake times. This one surprises people the most. Your circadian rhythm cares less about when you go to bed and more about when you get up. Sleeping in on weekends by 2 or 3 hours creates something researchers call social jet lag. Your internal clock gets confused about what time zone it's in, and that confusion often shows up as nighttime waking during the week. Here's a bonus point. A 4th trigger, your body temperature. There's one more piece that ties directly into that cortisol story, and it's one almost nobody thinks about: core body temperature. To fall into deep sleep and stay there, your core temperature needs to drop by about half a degree to a full degree Celsius. This isn't optional. It's one of the strongest internal signals your brain uses to decide whether it's safe to stay asleep or time to surface. If your bedroom is too warm, if you're sleeping under heavy blankets out of habit, or if you exercised hard in the 2 hours before bed, your body is fighting an uphill battle to hit that temperature drop. Here's where it connects to the 3 a.m. wake-up. When your temperature can't drop properly, your sleep stays shallower for longer, which means you spend more of the night in that fragile, easily interrupted state we talked about earlier. Combine a too-warm room with a cortisol spike that's already arriving early, and you've got two systems working against you at the exact same time, in the exact same window. The fix here is almost embarrassingly simple. Most sleep researchers point to somewhere between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 15 to 19 degrees Celsius, as the range where the biggest drop in wakings after sleep onset shows up across studies. If that feels too cold to fall asleep comfortably, a warm shower an hour before bed actually helps. It sounds backwards, but the rush of blood to your skin's surface afterward accelerates your core temperature drop rather than raising it. One more small lever in the same category. A subset of people find that a warm room, cold feet, literally cold feet and hands, delays that core drop and makes falling back asleep harder after a wake-up. If that's you, socks aren't just a comfort thing, they're a temperature regulation tool. Here's a simple routine grounded in circadian and sleep hygiene research. Morning, get natural light within 30 minutes of waking, even 5 minutes outside. This is one of the strongest signals for anchoring your circadian rhythm. Afternoon, set a personal caffeine cutoff at 2 p.m. If you're especially sensitive, push it earlier. Evening, 3 hours before bed. Stop alcohol. If you drink, earlier in the evening is better than right before bed. Evening, 1 hour before bed. Dim the lights in your home and put screens down, or use night mode. Let your melatonin do its job undisturbed. Every day, including weekends, wake up at the same time, within about an hour. This is the single biggest lever for a stable rhythm, more important than the exact time you fall asleep. If you wake at 3 a.m., don't check the time and don't reach for your phone. Both of those add mental stimulation that make it harder to drift back down. Instead, keep the room dark, keep your eyes closed, and let your mind wander without a task attached to it. None of this requires a device, a subscription, or a prescription. It requires about 2 weeks of consistency before your rhythm re-anchors. Most people notice a difference within the first week. If you've been telling yourself the 3 a.m. wake-up is just something you have to live with, I hope this gave you a different way to think about it. It's not a character flaw, and it's not necessarily permanent. It's a rhythm that got knocked out of sync, and rhythms can be rebuilt. If this was useful, I'll be covering the science of naps and why some people wake up tired even after 8 hours next. Subscribe if you want that one when it's out. Sleep well.